welcome to NAPOD, where we provide NA speaker meetings and workshops in a podcast. We are an ad-free podcast, and if you enjoy listening, please help us to be self-supporting by visiting napod.xyz, look for the donate link, and drop $1 or $2 in the virtual basket. If you're also in AA or have friends that are, please tell them about our other podcast, Sobercast. Sobercast features AA speakers and workshops in the same format as NAPOD. We upload a new speaker every day, and it's easy to subscribe by searching for Sobercast, that's 2 words, on any podcast player app, or go to Sobercast.com. Enjoy the podcast, and thanks for listening.
I'm David. I'm an addict. In tradition, and this is what I was taught when I came here, that I need to thank the God of my understanding for his interventions in my affairs. I also want to thank whoever thought enough of me to have me to come speak. You know, a lot of times in this fellowship especially, I'm one of the controversial persons. And I might say something out of my mouth that might not be real NA appropriate. And you guys will get on your Twitter and your thing and email headquarters and let them know. You know, I was listening to my sister Gloria, and you know, Gloria, I just need to say I am so just proud and elated to be a part of this fellowship with you in here. You know, and I understand in the literature it talks about we don't run hospitals and recovery houses and all that kind of stuff, but I also came out of a recovery house. I found Narcotics Anonymous in a recovery house, the same one that you was in. And I'm so glad that you used to come back to that recovery house. And I could see you. We didn't talk a lot. You know, it's something that happens with us addicts. Well, it happens with me, and I read about it in another book. And it talked about a conspiracy theory. And in that book, it said one conspirator knows another wherever they find each other in the world. Almost kind of like the literature thing that we got. It don't matter about your age, your race, and all of that kind of stuff. It kind of go like this here. You know that I know that you know that I know. And I remember I used to see Gloria, and she would come in there, and she would look at me, and it's like, you know your butt need to be here. Don't even think about doing nothing else, you know. I also want to, you know, so I need to say you were part of my early recovery, because just seeing you, the program of attraction, of one addict helping another. You know, I had got in trouble a couple of weeks ago. I was speaking at a thing, and I kind of talked about, you know, they got this new trend in where most people come to the podium and they bring their step work and their books and they quote out of the book and the step work and all of that kind of stuff and beat you over the head with it and all that kind of stuff. I can remember being in a meeting one time and everybody had shared their heart out, and the guy got up and threw the book on the thing, and he said, the program is in the book. And what that meant in my mind, it had dismissed everything that everybody had said. It also had dismissed my thought about you and being an attraction for me. So I was talking about that the other day, and the people emailed headquarters and did all of that stuff. When the guy was reading, and I got in touch, because I never know what I'm going to talk about, and I got really, really in touch with when he was reading, when we first opened the meeting, that guy was reading We Do Recover. First of all, the words in We Do Recover, for some reason or another, it strikes me profoundly. And then the way that he was reading and struggling through those words, because see, when you tell me the program is in the book and I can't read or wrote, I got to find another avenue. You know, Narcotics Anonymous has given me the opportunity to learn how to read and wrote a little bit. And it's given me a career. I'm a teacher, right? And I know y'all going to get twisted with this here. I teach a modality of education called cognitive behavioral therapy. And it's all about how we think. Most major change, this is what we say, most major change follows what we call a significant emotional event. And I got here by a series of significant emotional events. Kind of like what Gloria said, started to get really kind of twisted, right? You know, I'm one of them kind of addicts that I shoot dope and I go to the penitentiary. And go to penitentiary for a long period of time, and you know, and trying to find and pick a role and take a role when I'm in the penitentiary. And most of the time when I'm in the penitentiary, the role that I take is a revolutionary and a gangster. Chuck was teasing me a little while ago when we first came in, because he also know that I practice and study and participate in a certain religion, and part of that religion is not to eat pork. So here I am in the penitentiary, not eating pork, but I'll shoot dope in a heartbeat, right? I ain't gonna pass a cook or drunk, boy. You know, and Narcotics Anonymous has given me the opportunity to discover, I'm talking about really discover who I am. And like Gloria was saying, what I like. You know, right now today, I rode up here, I am Muslim, right? And I rode up here and I'm listening to gospel music. Now, Chuck, what the heck is that, a gospel-loving Muslim? I mean, don't you go tell, I couldn't say that nowhere but in Narcotics Anonymous. So, the series of significant emotional events went like this. I'm in the penitentiary, I'm in Corcoran prison in the SHU program, they call it, right? I gotten transferred from Folsom, and Corcoran was before Pelican Bay and was supposed to be this real terrible place. And I get down there and at night, and I'm listening to the chatter on the tier, because these is my people that I'm on the tier with. And I know that the next day when we come out, something going to happen. And I'm down. I'm down. Hell, I just like, whatever happens, I'm down. I just need to know my part before I can fit in and do my job, right? And we come out on the yard, and there's these little guys, these little young guys, because, see, I hadn't got old by now. You know, this is the damnedest thing, Chuck. It's two places in life that I found that you're a has-been at 30 years old. Professional athletes and drug addicts. We finished damn near. So I come out on the yard, and I start looking and trying to see who's calling shots so I can get my part in. And then I hear one of the youngsters tell the other one, you know, he said, man, check this out. Whatever happens, you make sure that don't nothing happen to Pops, right? And I start looking around, and I realize they're talking about me. You know? I'm 30, I think I might have been 32, 33 years old. Been in the penitentiary all my life. Know how the game go. Used to run some lines and all of that kind of stuff. And now I am a has-been. And they're telling me to sit down and they need to look out for me. That was a serious, significant, emotional event for me. Because, see, I was the youngster that came into the penitentiary, 18 years old, looking for a reputation. Now it was like these other cats was looking for reputations. And that's when I started to kind of back up and start to think about it. I had never heard about Narcotics Anonymous. I had never heard about recovery and none of that kind of stuff. As a matter of fact, see, you know, our opinion of what the literature says based on our attitudes, and that's my topic, attitudes, based on my attitude about the word itself led me to the actions. So I listen to you guys say recovery, and the first picture that comes to my mind is somebody in a hospital that just had surgery, and some people is around them, and they're recovering. That was my thing about recovery. I didn't know nothing about this thing that we talk about. I got out of the penitentiary and went right back to what I know to do. Let me back up a little bit. One of the things that have happened to me in the last 20 years, I've been clean 20 years, one of the things that have happened to me in the last 20 years, and looking at the topic of changing my attitudes, there was a time that I would not have been in the room with you all. Period. I learned how to hate people in the penitentiary. See? My attitude was the only good one was a dead one. See? And I lived by that principle for so long until I got here to Narcotics Anonymous. You know, I used to be so mad because my first sponsor was Eric. And he had been liberated for some reason or another, and he used to take me to all of these places and NA meetings and all these different peoples and all that kind of stuff, and he'd be hugging them and stuff, and I'm like, man, what the hell is going on? But once again, like we say in this program, that program of attraction started to work. I wanted what he had. Didn't want to have to feel all of that bottled up anger and misdirected hatred and all of that kind of stuff, because the very, very bottom line is, I can remember being in Folsom Prison and shooting some methamphetamine with a member of the Aryan Brotherhood. And that was a cardinal sin. I couldn't tell nobody, he couldn't tell nobody. I had never shot methamphetamine either. That was the damnedest trip I had ever been on in my life. I thought he had poisoned me, right? And then I'm mad at myself, right? It's like, oh, why did I do this? I lost the ability. I'm out of control. And then let this guy poison me. So I'm doing push-ups, trying to not die, you know. Take my TV and melt it and make a knife, and I'm going to kill him tomorrow. You know what I mean? I remember us coming out of the cell because we was on lockdown. We come out of the cell 3-4 days later, and both of us, because he wasn't no chump or nothing. He wasn't just finna be taking no killing. And I remember we came out of the cell and we looked at each other, and both of us said, whew, you know that I know that you know that I know. Couldn't tell nobody. I couldn't tell my people. He couldn't tell his people. I realized that day. You know, they say in the book, it said, comes a time when we know what the dilemma is. In the book, it calls it a thing. This thing had happened to me, and I was real clear that this thing, and I didn't know no way out until I got here. You know, I got out of the penitentiary and I went to the parole office, and I think this was the one that actually really settled it. My good friend of mine in Chicago, Benny Lee, he talks about the word decide. The word decide comes out of the family of sides, like homicide, suicide, pesticide. Means to kill something off. So when I decide to do something, I've got to kill off the other idea. They had a guy last night in the other place. I ain't going to mention what it was. I don't want to get put out. He talked about the difference between separation and divorce. Separation means I might could slip back by there. Divorce means you ain't got no business by here. See? So when I decided to actually take the necessary steps to do something about this thing that I knew had happened to me and didn't have a word for it, didn't know what to call it or none of that kind of stuff, I'm in the parole office. And the parole officer tell me, he said, listen, man, he said, I thought I was going to get a chance to supervise you. He said, but I'm not. Today is my retirement day. I am retiring, right? He said, I'm looking at your file, and he said, we came in the system around the same time, but I'm finished, right? He said, sit down, and I need to fill out the paperwork to transfer you to another parole officer. I sit down, and all of a sudden, he goes in his drawer, and he pulls out a picture album book. And he said, look at this. And I'm like, oh, my God. They want me to tell on somebody. They want me to point some stuff out. And, you know, I'm a what-you-call-it. I can't do that. But, yeah, I'm a what-you-call-it. But the other thing is that when I get finished, with this, going through this process, they're going to give me $200 that I can take $100 of it and go in my neighborhood and find Spicy Willie or Flacco or some damn body. I can take the other $100 and get a pistol that might work, right? So I need to get through whatever this guy's got for me so that I can get this money for my reentry so I can be successful. I started looking at the picture album book, And he started pointing things out. He said, this is my, me and my wife and the second home that we bought in Lake Tahoe. He showed me a boat on there, and he told me he had it custom made and everything. Then it had a young woman, that had the graduation cap and gown on and stuff. He said, that's my daughter. She just graduated from college. He said, before I leave here, I need to thank you because I was able to obtain this lifestyle based on people's stupidity like yours. And the cold part about it, it was true. I remember leaving the parole office that day. That's not the day that I got clean or went into a program and none of that kind of stuff. As a matter of fact, it wasn't but a few days later, I'm coming out of 7-Eleven store and then put a burrito in the microwave and going to put it in my pocket and left it in there too long. And it's hot in my pocket. I'm trying to get out of there. And here come Lorraine. She got about 2-3 days, a year's clean. And here she come. Now she carrying the message. She doing it. She carrying the message. And David, you ain't got to live like this no more. A woman, if you don't get your damn hot burrito. I thought she had lost her damn mind. What is she talking about? I ain't got to live like this here. You know. I went into the recovery house Christmas Day, 1989. And they brought Narcotics Anonymous in here. I give a shout out to hospitals and institutions because they brought Narcotics Anonymous in there. And I followed y'all. Like I said, I didn't know how to read the book and do all of that kind of stuff. I did all of the things that you guys suggested me do. Get a sponsor. I got a sponsor. Now check this out. Now this is, people talk about sponsorship. I know y'all been sponsored for 30 years. You two right there, right? Yeah. So I get a sponsor. I'm following them. I get a sponsor. And then my sponsor, after about 2 years, he tell me he finna die. I'm like, what? You finna die? After going through all of this stuff? So he said, yeah, get another sponsor. Don't keep on doing it. So I get another sponsor. He died. I said, man, there's something about this, right? So I didn't do that stuff for a while, for 4-5 years, because the guilt and the shame is like, is there something that I'm doing that got this stuff going on? So finally, I meet this guy. I saw him in an NA convention, and this is a trip because I had broke through that attitude about color and all of that kind of stuff. This was a Mexican guy that was in the penitentiary with me. That we used to take people's dope together. We couldn't tell nobody, but we would take people's dope together, right? And I remember seeing him in the NA convention, and they was doing the countdown, and they said 10 years, and he stood up on the chair. And I said, that's that motherfucker. I didn't know what had happened to him, right? I'm talking about I remember him taking some people's dope, and they was the other bad people and spitting in their face and all that kind of stuff. I said, well, that's the kind of person that can handle me. So I'm on my way. We're going to, like I said, I teach this cognitive behavioral therapy stuff all over the world in a whole lot of different arenas in the criminal justice system and all that kind of stuff. So we going to the youth authority right here in Stockton to teach some of them youngsters. And so I go pick him up. I'm going to pick him up. We go to the gym that morning. I'm going to come by his house to pick him up. And we're going to drive up here. And that's when I'm going to ask him to be my sponsor. Well, when I get to his house, the ambulance is there, his kids, his wife, he done died. He had a heart attack and died. I said, oh, my God, you know. But I'm still on this trail of this attraction and trying to do what you got. Chuck, y'all, you guys ain't got, I ain't going to ask y'all to be my sponsor, man. Y'all looking back, don't ask me to be your sponsor. You're rolling back there. Don't look at me. They don't want to do it. No. The thing that I have is a group of men, and we really, really sponsor each other. It's a whole bunch of them. And my theory is that this is God's way of telling me that I need a whole bunch of y'all in my life to be able to keep me clean one day. I was in East Camden, New Jersey, I think last week or something, and I'm doing this work, and of course, when I go places, and then everybody, they want to take me to the baddest part of the community so I can see what's going on. And I went on a street called 6th and Ferry. 6th and Ferry, for those of y'all, some of y'all from East Palo Alto, 6th and Ferry runs from Camden, New Jersey, through 47th and Cottage Grove in Chicago, to Clark Street in East Palo Alto. We all know the street, right? Yeah. I'm talking about I got kind of stuck with it, right? I get on the phone and I call Jackie Hoover in Philadelphia right across the bridge, right? And once again, that conspiracy theory started to work. You know that I know. He could hear it in my voice. He said, man, where you at? I said, where you at? I'm finna come across the bridge to Philadelphia. He said, no. You stay right where you at. I'm coming to get you. And came and got me, and he didn't say nothing. He just took me. I said, where we going? To the meeting. Shit. We know where you need to be at. And that's how this thing has worked for me. It's been through God showing up in people. You know, I was in that recovery house, Gloria, and it seemed like, because I'm constantly, every time we have a group or something, I'm looking for my dope part, because see, this is the thing that I just need to learn. And then first of all, I thought you guys was going to teach me how to shoot dope on the weekend when I got my SSI check, right? And I knew I couldn't do that. I mean, I tried to do that. In the penitentiary, because there's a lot of times it was real hard to get dope in the penitentiary, and I would not stop until I got what I wanted. Even if it wasn't heroin and cocaine, other people's psychotropic meds or whatever. It didn't matter. Used to drink wine, Prunos made in garbage cans so nasty you didn't want to even put garbage in them. I remember one time the guy, we got the Pruno, and the guy said, man, don't drink. I think the police peed in it. And everybody stopped, right? I'll tell you if he peed in it or not. Shit. So I'm looking for that part in this recovery house, and every now and then, because see, you guys was talking about, well, drugs was just a symptom. It's all of this other stuff. And Gloria, it took me a long time to be able to catch up with that. I remember they told us, they said, don't get in a relationship for a year or something. Well, y'all wasn't talking to me. Hell, I had read Donald Goins and Iceberg Slim 4-5 times. Y'all ain't talking about me, Then I started hearing people, men, now y'all probably get mad. Men, it's like that became the driving force in their life. Reminds me of a story that I heard in Marion, Indiana. I went to this supper club, and it was a very uncomfortable situation with some corporate people that I work with. And it got uncomfortable, so people started using humor to get through the uncomfortability, and they started telling jokes and stories, right? This one guy told this joke. He said, this guy wakes up in the hospital, and the doctor tell him, I got good news and I got bad news. The bad news is that your penis is gone. You lost that. It's over with, right? The good news is that we got some technology. We can give you another one. And then with the insurance you got, you can get any kind you want. A big one, a medium, or whatever, right? The guy said, I can't make a decision like that until I talk to my wife. Goes home, talks to his wife. The doctor's excited about doing the surgery the next day. He said, well, what did she say? She said she would rather get the kitchen remodeled. You start to experience that kind of stuff around here when people start to get healthy and start to realize who they are and taking control and taking care of themselves. And for a lot of us men, that ain't really okay. What the hell you mean you ain't gonna do that? See? My attitude, and I was talking to Lorraine earlier, and I said, well, I just ain't took nothing. Because a lot of times my head, and it talks to me in my own voice, and said, man, you just ain't took nothing. You ain't changed nothing. And Lorraine said, you have changed some things. See? I was at the youth authority the other day, and I was telling those guys, I used to have an attitude, if you put your hands on me without me giving you permission, there were serious consequences. My attitude now, and I tell them youngsters, if you put your hands on me without me giving you permission, I am calling the damn police. They look at me like, what kind of mess is that? You know? But that's my attitude now. You know. We get a chance, new people, a lot of the attitudes that we pick up from whatever, families, culture that we live in, the drug culture and all that kind of stuff, that once we cross this line over into recovery, we start to realize they don't work for us no more, or they're not going to continue to work for us, and then we struggle on changing them. But just like Gloria was saying earlier, that struggle sometimes is gradually and incrementally. That's another CBT word, gradually and incrementally. It's almost like a receding hairline. You don't just, your hair didn't just fall out all at once. It fell out gradually and incrementally, and sometimes you don't even know it. See? You know, in one of the other, I don't know where I read this at. Yeah, I don't know where. I do, but I ain't gonna say because they got some people from headquarters in here. I know it. It said you will be amazed before you halfway through. I was just sharing with Gloria. You know, I had the opportunity. And this is a few years ago. I'm sitting in KDW's office, and the phone rings. And it's this guy on the phone, and he said, David Lewis? I said, yeah. He said, you know, I Googled you and talked to some people and all that kind of stuff. He said, how would you like to go to Africa? How would a black man not want to go to, I mean, that's like a hog not wanting to be in a slop pen, right? And I had no idea. My self-esteem was so low. There's another David Lewis that if you Google it in the thing, he's a PhD. So it had to be, he got his information. He ain't got my information. So I wanted to be honest like you guys taught me and explain to him who I was. He said, I know who you are. He's saying, and that's what you want. I've had the opportunity, and this is serious, I've had the opportunity to set up 12-step programs in 2 countries in Africa just thriving. I'm talking about just thriving. And those people knew nothing about this process of recovery that we do. They would have you, if you was too bad of worse of a drug addict, first of all, they take you to the mental health hospital. They used to do some of us like that too, right? Take you to the mental health hospital. Then if that didn't work, the witch doctor would make you dig 2 graves with a hole connecting it, put you in one and crawl through and come up the other side, and that was supposed to bury the addiction. They said, what do you think about this, brother? I said, shit, I want to drink right now. Just seeing that. Yeah. I'm through. I'm David. Thank y'all.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Please help us improve our rankings so others can find us by putting a review on Stitcher, iTunes, or your favorite podcast index. NAPOD is ad-free thanks to the folks supporting the show with $1 or more per month. If you enjoy listening, you can join them by going to napod.xyz and looking for the donate link. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.